Welcome to the Smart Keys podcast. Today we are doing a deep dive into something that honestly might completely change how you work.
It really might. It's a fundamental shift.
Yeah. So we're looking at this comprehensive resource from smartkeys.org. It's an article called Corporate Digital Detox by Felix Römer. And, we're focusing on the modern paradox of productivity.
Right, that paradox where we have all this incredible technology that, empowers global, fast-moving teams, but
But it's also destroying us.
exactly, the constant barrage of emails, the chat pings, the back-to-back meetings, it is entirely scattering our attention and eroding mental health and obviously actual business throughput.
It really is. I was actually thinking about this the other day, and I came up with an analogy. Because we are so obsessed with optimizing our smartphone battery life, right? Like we close background apps, we turn down the brightness.
Oh yeah, constantly checking the battery percentage.
Right. But then we let our own mental batteries drain to literally 1% by leaving our own notifications on all day. Every unread message, every ping, it's like a background app draining your cognitive RAM.
That is a perfect way to frame it. And honestly, that sets the exact mission for our deep dive today. We want to explore how company-led unplugged days and, structured digital boundaries are not just some HR wellness fad.
Right. It's not just forced meditation sessions.
No, not at all. These are strategic, measurable moves to reclaim business efficiency. So if you are listening and you want to understand how to help your team solve complex problems without just entirely burning out, this deep dive is definitely for you.
Okay, so let's unpack this. Because when I hear digital detox, my brain instantly goes to, throwing my laptop into a lake and moving to a cabin to bake sourdough bread.
Which sounds great, honestly.
It does, but Römer points out that in a corporate setting, that whole going completely off the grid thing is a myth.
It is a complete myth, and that's exactly why so many managers immediately reject the idea. They think a digital detox means leaving clients hanging.
Right, like the business just stops.
Exactly. But it's actually about setting clear boundaries. Batching your messages, creating scheduled focus blocks. It's about intentional friction so you can actually concentrate.
Okay, so it's about predictability. But let's look at the hard data, because people are going to be skeptical. The article mentions this massive 71% rise in productivity. Where's that from?
Yeah, that's a standout statistic Römer highlights from a Harvard Business Review study. They found a 71% rise in productivity when meetings were cut by 40%.
Wait, 71%? From doing less coordinating?
I know, it sounds totally counterintuitive.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking of, the natural pushback from a middle manager. Want productivity actually drop if people stop checking email and chat all day? I mean, how do things not just fall through the cracks?
That fear of the dropped ball is super common, but the mechanics of human attention actually prove the opposite. Because when you reduce communication, throughput and quality go up due to something called attention residue.
Attention residue. Okay, what is that?
So imagine you're writing a really complex proposal, right? And you stop to check a quick chat ting. Your brain doesn't just instantly snap back to the proposal when you close the chat. A residue of your attention is basically stuck on that ping.
Wow. For how long?
Sometimes up to 20 minutes.
20 minutes from one ping. That's terrifying. So every context switch is basically a silent killer of your workday.
Precisely. So by batching emails into specific windows, you eliminate that residue. And as for things falling through the cracks, the text shows that dropped handoffs actually decrease when you have structured communication windows.
I guess that makes sense. If I know my only window to hand off a project to you is at 2 p.m., I'm going to make absolutely sure everything is perfect.
Right. All the links work. The notes are clear.
Yeah, because I can't just ping you 12 times with partial information.
Exactly. You're honoring team expectations. Plus, there are physical benefits too. Reduced eye strain, fewer headaches, better sleep hygiene from limiting evening screen time.
Okay, so less communication actually means better focus and healthier employees. But here's the thing. How does this work for hybrid teams? Because we don't have physical office doors to close anymore.
Right, you can't just put on noise-canceling headphones to signal you're busy.
Exactly. We have to rely on software to build virtual doors. So what are the actual workflows here, especially across different time zones?
Well, the text emphasizes a shift toward asynchronous workflows. You have to use software and automation as a cognitive shield.
A cognitive shield, I like that. Give me an example of how that works.
So Römer talks about using tools like Leemly for social media scheduling. Instead of an employee being tethered to live feeds all day, waiting to post, they just Batch create the strategy in a deep work state, schedule it, and close the app.
Oh, so they aren't hostage to an algorithm that's literally designed to distract them.
Exactly. And another big one is administrative microstressors. The article specifically highlights using tools like Smart Service, particularly its QuickBooks API sync.
Right, for data entry.
Yeah. Think about the cognitive penalty of manual reentry. If a skilled technician has to stop solving a problem to manually enter invoice data into accounting software, the potential for errors is huge.
And the anxiety of messing up the numbers just drains your mental energy.
Exactly. Automating that sync instantly frees up bandwidth.
Okay, I buy the automation argument for routine stuff, but let me play devil's advocate for a second.
Right.
What about a real emergency? Like the server crashes, or a massive client is threatening to leave. You can't just have an auto reply saying, I'm in deep work, I'll check my email at 4.
No, absolutely not. And any good digital detox protocol accounts for that. The secret is defining what critical actually means before the crisis happens.
Okay, so how do we do that?
The text outlines an emergency protocol. First, you establish one designated channel, maybe a specific phone number or one dedicated Slack channel that is only for true emergencies.
Right, and second, you rotate an on-call person.
Oh, that's smart. So the whole team isn't just sitting there suffering from the anxiety of waiting for the alarm bell to ring.
Exactly. Only one person holds the pager, so to speak. Everyone else is insulated. Römer also suggests using urgency tags in email subject lines to filter out the noise.
Which is brilliant because, biologically, if I see a vague email from my boss, my amygdala just spikes my cortisol. It assumes danger.
Yes, the classic "we need to talk" subject line.
Exactly. But if it has an urgency tag, like low priority, my brain can safely ignore it without the anxiety.
It's the exact psychological mechanism at play. It lets you triage your attention.
So let's talk about the remote worker, the person working from their kitchen table, because the physical lines are totally blurred there. How do they participate in this when their laptop is literally next to their dinner plate? It requires really intentional physical boundaries at home. Römer is very prescriptive about this. First, keep all devices out of the bedroom. The blue light and the psychological association with work actively destroy your sleep.
Yeah, checking Slack at midnight in bed is a terrible idea.
Terrible. Second, the text suggests phone-free meals.
Phone-free meals. I mean, it sounds simple, but I bet almost no one actually does it during the workday.
Very few do. But eating while scrolling prevents your brain from shifting into the rest and digest state. You just stay in fight or flight mode all day.
Wow, that is exhausting.
It is. And for hybrid teams, Römer also emphasizes a day-before checklist. Basically, you cleanly document and hand off your context before logging off for an unplug day.
So nobody is panic calling you the next morning.
Right, it preserves the boundary.
Okay, so we've got the software workflows, we've got the home boundaries. But none of this matters if the company culture doesn't support it, right? I mean, the best workflows fail if the culture punishes you for using them.
That is the absolute bedrock of this whole strategy, the human element. What Römer highlights is that stepping back from constant digital communication actually leads to stronger team trust.
Really? Because I feel like a lot of managers would think silence breeds suspicion.
It does if the silence is uncoordinated, but when it's structured, the communication that does happen is just exponentially higher quality. Instead of 1,000 fragmented chat messages, the text recommends replacing that digital noise with high-impact, face-to-face interactions.
Even if they're virtual.
Even virtually, yeah. Offline brainstorming, skill-sharing workshops, or even guided walks. You connect as human beings without a screen pulling your eyes away.
That makes total sense. But here is the massive change management hurdle. We can write down all these rules about urgency tags, but if my vice president emails me at 11:30 p.m. on a Tuesday, I'm going to reply.
Of course you are.
Right. Human nature in a hierarchy dictates that you answer the boss, regardless of what the policy says.
And Römer addresses that exact dynamic. Leaders absolutely must model tech restraint. If leadership doesn't change their behavior, the policy breeds resentment. It just feels hypocritical.
So what does that modeling actually look like for an executive?
It has to be highly visible, closing laptops during breaks, leaving the phone in your pocket, using scheduled send so that an 11 p.m. email doesn't hit the employee's inbox until 9 a.m.
Oh, scheduled send is a lifesaver.
It really is. An executive should explicitly name their focus time on public calendars. It creates psychological safety for junior employees to do the same.
You're creating a culture of compliance through behavior, not just a memo.
Exactly. Teams should also draft short written agreements about communication expectations, reviewed quarterly. And the most impactful rule to establish is the rule of default response times.
Okay, explain default response times.
It means actively removing the expectation of an instant reply. You state explicitly that for non-urgent messages outside business hours, the default expectation is a next-day follow-up. Yeah, unless it comes through the emergency channel, you are not expected to reply, period.
I love that clarity. Okay, so we know the theory, the tools, the culture. But if you're listening and you want to roll this out on Monday, you can't just flip a switch across a whole company, right? That would be chaos.
Cue chaos. You definitely need a roadmap. And Römer provides a concrete 90-day blueprint. It's phased to ease the organization in.
Okay, walk us through the blueprint.
Yeah.
Phase 1, the first 4 weeks.
Weeks 1 through 4 are strictly a pilot phase. You pick one team, pilot a single unplug day or focus block. But the crucial step is establishing a baseline. You measure self-reported stress, calendar focus time, and actual tasks completed.
That is so smart. You're tracking actual throughput, not just keyboard activity. Okay, what about weeks 5 through 8?
This is gentle scaling. You add a company-wide no-meeting day, you refine those email check windows based on the pilot feedback, and you run A/B tests.
Oh, like having one team check email twice a day and another every 2 hours.
Exactly. You compare the impact on throughput and stress to find the optimal cadence.
You're literally treating communication like a product feature that needs optimization. That's brilliant. Okay, final phase, weeks 9 through 12.
Formalization. The pilot data dictates the final policy. You train leadership on modeling behaviors, deploy the automated tools like the smart service syncs, and most importantly, you publish the results via internal dashboards.
Yes, publishing the results is the masterstroke because you're measuring the right things. Römer advises using calendar analytics and pulse surveys, right? Not just hours logged.
Exactly, because hours logged is just a vanity metric. It measures activity, not productivity.
Right. Sitting at your desk looking at Slack doesn't mean you're working.
Exactly. When you put those dashboards up, everyone can visually see that the 71% productivity boost is real.
Right.
It makes the invisible benefits entirely visible.
But, what about the individual listening right now who doesn't have the authority to change their whole company's roadmap? Where do they start?
Römer offers a very practical starting point. Just adopt one new habit this week to build momentum. Like setting a strict 45-minute email check window in the morning, or just committing to keeping the phone out of the bedroom tonight. Just prove to your nervous system that the world won't end if you step away.
That makes this daunting corporate digital detox concept instantly actionable. I love that.
It really does. And I want to leave you with a thought that crystallizes all of this. If we start measuring our team's success by calendar-focused minutes and task throughput, rather than how quickly they reply to a Slack ping, how does that fundamentally rewrite what it means to be a top performer in your industry?
Oh, wow. That completely flips the traditional corporate ladder on its head. I mean,
Right.
we've spent the last decade promoting people for their reflexes instead of their reasoning.
Exactly.
It means the most valuable employee isn't the fastest responder, it's the deepest thinker.
It finally rewards the quality of attention over the speed of reaction, and that is a true competitive advantage.
That is definitely something to mull over as you look at your own calendar this week. Thank you for tuning in to the Smart Keys podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an update on these crucial shifts in how we work.
And definitely go read Felix Römer's full article. It's an essential read for navigating modern business.
It really is. The link is right there in the show notes. Remember, you don't let your smartphone battery sit at 1%, so stop letting your mental battery run on empty too. Turn off those unnecessary notifications, reclaim your focus, and we will see you on the next deep dive.